Welcome to the Hunt360 podcast. I'm E3 King, here with founder of Hunt360, Jeremy Williams, and our special guest, Don Lind of South Peace Outfitters and Macmillan River Adventures. Don, it's great to have you. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Yeah. Well, Don, it was great to have you here. I know I've been going around these shows for a couple years now, and you've always been an exciting person to talk with, and it's just been full of knowledge, and I look forward to seeing you every year.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to sit down and have a chat too. I'm glad we're finally getting it done.
Yeah, it's awesome. So we just like to learn a little bit about what got you into the hunting sport when you were young, and sort of bring you up to becoming an outfitter.
Sure. You want the short version or the?
Yeah,
we don't have a lot of time, I guess, but no, I was born and raised in small communities in northern Alberta. Getting nearly 60 years ago now.
Wow.
So I mean, it wasn't remote, but there were small communities and lots of timberland up there, lots of places to go out and run and play. And my father was a hunter, so like most guys, I guess that's how I got started. Introduced to trapping and hunting and fishing. It was kind of a lifestyle for most of us in the communities at that time.
Right.
And it's just something that I always had interest in. So that's where I started. As I grew up and graduated out of high school, I'd had several years of experience at home with Dad. And then I went into the forestry and fish and wildlife industry, I guess, post-secondary schooling in fish and wildlife management. So obviously I had a real keen interest in it to pursue that. When I graduated from that training, I went to work in private industry a little while and kind of looked after a lot of wildlife issues for some oil field companies.
Okay.
But, I did lose some hunting time. I kind of got away from it a little bit. I'd get out occasionally. And
work sort of does that to us.
Yeah. And then I started a little ranching operation with some cattle, and that gave me a little more time to focus on hunting. So I was still juggling, the ranch and some oil field work. And I remember at one point, I thought, I'm not hunting enough anymore. So I started getting a little more focused on taking time to do that, And then an opportunity come along locally from a local outfitter who I'd actually grew up with through my high school years in this northern community in Alberta, that had gotten into the outfitting industry. And we kind of lost contact with one another, but we found each other one day, and he said, "Hey, do you ever want to guide a couple hunters for me?" Because I had the ranch then, and I had a bit of land there, and he said I could use a hand, and I talked to the wife, and I said, "Hey, this guy wants to know if we want to take a few hunters. We'll bring them in to home here, and they can stay at our place, and I'll guide them." And she said, "Sure, let's give it a try." Well, that was a mistake. I mean, I want to guide and outfit, so it took a few years to get my roots set up as an outfitter in Alberta.
All right.
But that was about 25 years ago. I got really lucky, found allocations is how things are set up in Alberta with an allocation system. And I found allocations close to home, so I could operate right out of my home. So I've been 25 years in Alberta outfitting, still love it, still doing much of the same stuff we were doing there 25 years ago.
Awesome.
And through about 15 years of outfitting there, I've got to meet a lot of people, and a lot of other opportunities were presented. About 11 years ago, I was given the opportunity to partner in with the outfit in the Yukon. Mm-hmm. Now, my Alberta outfit, South Peace Outfitters, the Yukon is Macmillan River Adventures.
Right.
And again, through doing what I was doing in Alberta outfitting, I met people and was given the opportunity to partner in and be the outfitter with Macmillan River in the Yukon. And it was another big jump, but did it, and absolutely no regrets.
Oh, yeah.
So right now I'm running the two outfits. That's all I do. Not doing the ranching anymore with the cattle because it's just too much conflict.
Yeah.
But now I have horses. Horses are part of our operation in the Yukon, so I use the ranch and run our horse operation at the ranch.
Those horses are just as big a job as the cows.
They're a lot of work.
More.
They are, and right now we're experiencing some 40 below weather at home for the last 10 days or so. So Wow. It's a challenge, and I'm down here, and the wife's looking after things at home. So
she must be a good lady.
Very good. I'm lucky. Yeah. She had a little struggle yesterday. Some water problems. It's hard running water when it's 40 below, but she's managing. So yeah.
Well, good for her. Well, so tell us a little bit about your operation in Alberta, your type of hunts you offer,
Sure.
and just curious, just the different species, and you say you operate it out of your house.
Well, we'll run through the basic, kind of a year with the Alberta outfit. January, February, and sometimes into March, I come down in here and do some of these trade shows.
Right.
Middle of April, I start gearing up for the spring bear hunts in Alberta. We're in a 2-tag baited bear hunting area there, and we have a lot of bears. So I run a fairly large bear hunting operation there. Our first hunts are about the second week of May. I do 3 to 4 weeks of bear hunts. Run about 24 clients through there a year. Several bait sites, and basically ATV-based hunts.
Okay.
We don't run any of our sites within walking or road distance. Anything close to the road. Everything's remote, well scattered. Like I said, we've got a lot of bears there, and it's a lot of opportunity for the hunter. And it's actually a great hunt. It's a lot of fun. This year, I've got 2 or 3 adult or parent sibling
father and son
hunts coming. Well, father son. I've actually got a father-daughter coming out of Mexico this year.
Oh wow!
Young gal, never bear hunted before, no opportunity, I guess, where they live to bear hunt, and they're really excited, and I'm probably just as excited to get them up there. And as an outfitter, I live off of the adrenaline rush of the hunters I take now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really key.
Especially
really
when watch the youth.
Well, the youth thing is big. I raised 2 boys myself. They're both avid hunters. So I get to relive what I did with them now with other people. Yeah. So yeah, it's really neat.
It's really good.
And then we wrap up our bear stuff in Alberta early June, mid-June. Right away, I have crew come out to the ranch, and we start working with our Yukon horses and putting things together to travel to the Yukon.
Right.
We go up to the Yukon mid-July. Our hunts there start August 1st with sheep hunts primarily. We do sheep and moose hunts in the Yukon.
All doll sheep, no fanning sheep?
No, we've got Fannons and
You do have
Stones.
Fannons.
We've got Fannons and Stones.
Okay.
Then I run 2 horse crews up there. 1st of September, we start in the moose hunts with caribou, grizzly bear, black bear combination opportunities. Mid-September, I operate another 12 camps with moose hunters for rut hunts. I run 2 10-day hunts back-to-back out of the moose camp and the horse camp, the boat camp and the horse camp for moose during the rut.
So you do the horses and both?
We do both, yeah. So there's different hunting styles there,
Yes.
Different hunters have different hunting styles and different preferences. We wrap things up early October in the Yukon. I pack up the horse trailer and horses, bring everybody back home, and then I'm right into the Alberta moose. Now, in my absence in September and October, I've got guides hunting moose and elk in Alberta for me while I'm gone. And then when I get home mid-October, we continue with the post-rut moose hunts and some whitetail and mule deer and a little bit of elk hunting that time of year.
So I got a question. Back at Yukon,
Yep.
do you get the mountain caribou and grizzly bear as well?
Yeah, we do those as combo opportunities on the moose or the sheep hunts.
Okay. So you can basically sell the sheep or the moose hunts, then it's an extra package for trophy fee.
And all of my packages include multiple species licensing.
Okay.
So if you come up on a moose hunt, whether it's horse camp or boat camp, you'll have your moose tag, mountain caribou tag, grizzly bear tag, black bear tag, and you can shoot a couple of wolves on those licenses as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're big combination hunts.
Good.
How seasoned do you have to be on horseback to show up and hunt and get on that?
You really don't. I talk to the hunters and ask them what their horse experience is, because if you have 0 horse experience, you need to learn or be at least informed about how your hunt's going to go. You're going to be sore, I guarantee you, after that first day of riding, because even if you have ridden a bit, your knees bend in different ways that they're not supposed to bend when you're on the horse. But when we're doing the horse hunts, you don't ride horses every day. You primarily use them as a mode of transportation to get from A to B.
Get in the area.
And then when you get there, whether it's sheep or moose, you hunt that area often by foot or maybe just a short horse ride, an hour or two. But, dealing with horses is different. I mean, we have to turn our horses loose at the end of every day so they can go feed. They don't get an opportunity to feed when we're using them through the day, so you turn them loose at night. So, the wrangler goes out early in the morning and tries to find where those horses are. We bell and hobble some of them so that we can find them and they don't travel too far, but it still takes time. So, you got to be patient on a horse hunt when you're having a move day or you need those horses. You may not get out of camp till 10 or 11, so your day's going to start a little later. The big advantage of dealing with horses is you can get into some country that there's no other way to get there.
Right.
And it would be a long walk, and you can't do a backpack moose hunt very effectively. So we use those horses. I mean, they work hard up there.
Yeah.
But so I guess your question, you don't have to be experienced. We have quiet horses. You don't have to be a skilled rider. I mean, it's basically like dude ranch horses, where you can go on and get on, and we'll give you a little bit of training, like do this, don't do that, and you just sit there and ride along.
Yeah, that was a great question. I mean, there's so many people ask about horses, that are scared of horses, or that's...
and there's no reason to be scared of horses. They, but you have to realize that they are a thing of themselves. They've got their own brain, and sometimes stuff happens.
Right.
Yeah.
So once you get back from the Yukon, you start into the elk, fall elk.
Yeah, primarily in Alberta, what we do when we're back from the Yukon are the post-rut moose. Okay. And then again, I have whitetail allocations, I have mule deer allocations, and I have elk allocations that we can hunt that time of year. So I offer them again as combo options on the tags. Like our second moose hunt in November is a great time to combo with deer because the deer are going in the rut.
Right.
And, we have some really good opportunities there for primarily mule deer right now, whitetail deer right now. Our mule deer numbers are down a bit. But we still have some good deer there. But I offer up the combo tags as another opportunity to have a license in your pocket. And if you happen to get, if you happen to harvest a couple species on your hunt, then there's a little additional trophy fee. And that's the same way we operate the combo stuff in the Yukon.
Okay.
Yeah, pay if you harvest.
That's just a great way to do it.
It is. It gives the hunter a lot of opportunity.
Yeah. And they know, they just know, they're informed ahead, like this, they know what to expect. There's no big old surprise.
No surprises. Yeah, that's one thing, in the first year or two that I started the Alberta outfit 25 years ago, is I heard complaints from hunters like, they'd been on a previous hunt and the additional expenses that they weren't informed about or maybe didn't pay attention to, they were so excited about booking a hunt, and then they get there and realize that, you want to do that, that's going to cost you a little more. So one of the things I started doing right off the bat is do all-inclusive pricing. Yeah. So my Alberta stuff includes all the licensing, meals, guide fees, everything. The Yukon, same thing. It includes all our charter fees because everything we do up there is fly-in. It's very remote. So it includes all our charter fees, all our licensing, the primary species trophy fees included, flying you and your animal in and out of the bush is included, everything except tips for the guide at the end of the hunt.
I don't understand why more people don't do that, because as a hunter myself, I want to know just flat rate.
Yeah.
This is what I pay.
Yeah.
And I'm done.
Yeah.
And then then the tips, of course, is
Well, and that's what I like. That's how I like to present it. Yeah. Now, some of the other guys do it as a marketing tool, because their hunt looks a little bit cheaper and it gets them on the phone, and then they can engage people, and but there's advantages to both ways. But the hunter just has to be aware of what he's doing. Smart shopper, and
they just got to be informed.
That's right.
And there's nothing wrong with the other way. You just
as
long as you're informed with it, you know what to expect.
That's right.
It's just but if the hunter's not paying attention, it can be really surprised at the end. So I encourage all our hunters to pay attention, so there is no surprises. No matter who they're dealing with.
Right.
They ask the questions out front. So there's a good understanding, so there's no misunderstanding.
Yeah, that's the worst thing, is to end a hunt on a bad note over misunderstanding. So present everything up front.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Now, I guess one thing I do, Jeremy, is tell you specifically what we have in both operations. Like, the black bear in Alberta, they're the North American black bear. I mean, they're common north and south of the border. Our outfit in Alberta, we're in one of the highest areas for incidence of colored bears as well.
Well,
You know, we get a lot of chocolates, a lot of cinnamons, you know, so I mean, it's real neat because we have a 2-tag area. A hunter can come in and harvest, you know, what I try to encourage first-time bear hunters to do is to harvest the first average bear. You know, we have what I call Bear 101 before we go out, and we sit down and we talk to everybody. This is what you do, this is what you don't do, this is what you'll see, you know, this is how you judge a bear. You know, so if a good average black bear comes in and the hide's really good, go ahead and harvest that bear. And then you've got one, you know,
under your belt.
I hate the term, but a lot of people use it, the pressure's off.
Oh yeah.
You know, you've harvested your bear, you've had a successful hunt. Continue the hunt, waiting for a big bear or a colored bear, something different, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of guys where you're only given one opportunity or one tag, you go in and guys are reluctant to maybe shoot that first night because their hunt's going to be over the first day.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a great advantage to what we do in Alberta.
That is a great advantage.
Yeah.
That makes a great point. I mean, they can, once that first one is done, then they can relax and enjoy the experience, and then just say, okay, I'm gonna be a little bit more picky.
Well, you know, another real neat thing, and again with the couples that I got coming this year, the adult or the father or the grandfather in the one case have asked if they can sit with the young hunter on that first hunt because they want to be there when they harvest their first animal, and you know, it's a lifetime experience that they'll share.
Yeah.
So that we can do that. We run a lot of stands that are double stands, or we take a hanger along and put it up beside so they can be together and share that experience. Then after that, if the adult wants to go and do a hunt themselves, I'll either put a guide out or at least the youth hunter, and you know, some of them aren't youth, but you know, 16, 17-year-old young adults can go out and hunt by themselves for the rest of the hunt, you know, so they still get to have individual hunts, but they have that shared experience too. So
yeah, cool. That means a lot.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So then, you know, when we do our fall hunts, we've got the Rocky Mountain Elk, which, you know, again, is a common species. We have the Canadian species of moose in Alberta, and then the white-tailed deer and the mule deer. In the Yukon, we have stones and fannin sheep. Mm-hmm. We have the Alaska Yukon moose, the big moose.
Right.
You know, we average 58 to 60 inch spread width on those Yukon moose with a really high success rate. And the mountain caribou, the grizzly bear, it's the inland. It's obviously not the coastal, it's the inland grizzly. And then again, the black bear up there.
So I'm just curious about the Yukon because I've heard people hunt say, what kind of density grizzly population is there in that area? Is it not much is known about bears really anywhere. They're a hard species to study, and the biologists honestly don't know what densities are. There's a good number of them there, but they are hard to hunt. That's why I don't do standalone grizzly hunts, because if I don't feel you have a decent opportunity at something, I don't want to take you on that hunt. Right.
So we offer up the grizzly tags as a combo option. If you're doing a horse camp hunt and the blueberry crop coincides with the time that you're there, you could see several bears up on hillsides because they come out of that dense cover and feed on those berries. During the moose hunts, on the boat camp hunts, we can hunt carcasses. We cannot bait bears in the Yukon, but we can hunt a carcass if it's left at the kill site. So, you know, but a lot of the stuff on the boat hunts is in dense, heavy cover. So chances of running into a grizzly bear not being on a kill site are slim, because they hear you coming and they just step back in and you don't even know they're there. But we do have the opportunity to hunt kill sites up there.
So those moose, I mean, they're growing all year in that dense cover. And
well, what our moose do, the cycle of the moose is during the winter, most of the moose move up to the high country.
Really?
Because that's where they're out of the heavy timber. Like in the heavy timber areas, there isn't a lot of underbrush that they feed on down there. I mean, there's some, but the best feed is up above tree line in that alpine area where you get a lot of willow and alder. Plus, you know, those areas are wind swept and the snow depth is a little bit lower. So a high percentage of the moose, cows and bulls, move up, you know, post-rut into that alpine area. Okay. And that's where they spend the winter. South-facing slopes, they get the warmth of the sun, and there's lots of feed. Towards the spring, when the moose start calving, the cows drop down. A lot of them drop down to the lower,
into the cover.
denser cover, because that's where there's more water. Water's important. The rivers and the abundance of lakes that we have in our area are important for those cows because that offers a source of protection for the calves. The denser timber, they're out of sight of the predators. You know, I mean, wolves and grizzly bears and black bears they're a predator similar to how we hunt, and they can see. When the spring starts coming and those cows know they're going to calve, they drop down to those low areas where there's lots of water.
Right.
Because the first thing a cow moose does with her calf is take it into the water. I mean, they can swim from a couple hours old. I've
That's just amazing.
Many, many times. So they get them in there and they get that afterbirth washed off and get them freshened up. I've seen cows go out and stand in the lake or the river, and or cows will stand there and that calf will swim around them for half an hour. And then they move them up, and, you know, some of the elders in the community have said that kind of gets the scent off of them and washes them, because, you know, the cow moose is no different than a white-tailed doe. They'll leave their young bedded for when they're young,
right,
for several hours while they move off and feed. And so anyway, that water is a source of protection, and the dense cover is a source of protection. You know, up in that high country, if a grizzly bear saw a cow moose 200-300 yards away,
Be on it.
they'd be going there to see if there was a calf. Those moose are down in that heavy timber. You can't see them from 50 yards away. So the multi-purpose why they move down. So they spend the summer months down there with their calves near the water sources. There's also a lot of feed down there. They really like those water lilies that grow in the shorelines. Mm-hmm. You'll see areas you drive in and there's lots of water lilies, but they've been grazed because there's a moose living in that little bay eating those lilies. So then come late August, early September, most of the big bulls are still up high. And again, they're not down in that heavy, thick cover because they have a hard time with those big antlers.
Yeah,
they're tender, they're soft, they're full of blood, and they're growing several inches a day. So they're up high where they'd have, no opportunity or chance of banging them and damaging them. But as they start getting hard-horned, they rub their velvet off up high, and they start challenging one another, for the dominance thing. So that's when we start our horse camp moose hunts, that first 10 days of September.
Okay.
The bulls will respond to bull challenges, to grunts. They won't respond to cow calls then, but they will respond to challenges. You get in within a few hundred yards and you grunt at them a couple times and challenge calling them, and they'll come and they start battering heads much like whitetails do pre-rut, right? Setting dominance before the rut kicks in. Then the bulls will start dropping down where the cows are, and they scatter. And, when the cows start coming into heat, if they haven't got a bull with them, they'll start calling, and that attracts the bulls. So then the rut goes on down there for, approximately a month into mid-October. Winter starts setting in, the lakes start freezing up, the moose start moving back up to the hills, and that's kind of the annual cycle of the moose.
That's very interesting. I've never been told an annual cycle like that.
Yeah.
I had no clue that the moose went up to the above tree line for the summer or spring, summer.
Yeah. If they have that opportunity, and like our area in the Yukon has some of the highest densities of moose in the entire Yukon, and that's from actual surveys that Fish and Wildlife have done. And moose are not a high density animal. They're not like whitetails, and that's one thing I caution guys when they come out to hunt. Like, don't expect to see 8 or 10 moose a day. You may go halfway through your hunt without seeing a moose, and you don't think there's a moose in the valley. But all you need is one of those cows to go into heat and start calling, and that draws bulls. And we've got proven record of bulls traveling over 9 miles overnight because, they've heard a cow calling a nice calm night. And cows are loud. I don't know if you've heard them, but if it's a calm, clear, cold night, you can hear them for miles. And those bulls come slow. They just come trudging along.
And slow.
But you look at a bull moose, his damn legs are 4 foot tall. He can cover a lot of ground in a few hours.
Yeah. I saw some in Alaska. I was hunting out on the peninsula for brown bear. Yeah. And where we were sitting up on this knob, I saw this thing. I didn't even know they had moose that far out on the peninsula, but there comes this moose and there's legs. It's amazing how much ground that moose covered in the amount of time he covered.
And no doubt he wasn't running, he was just walking.
No, he just walked. As a matter of fact, he walked within 50 yards of us. I mean, we never moved, and he just walked right up underneath our bench and just kept on going. And it's like, he just strong and steady.
Yeah.
I got one for you. So
Yep.
you've been doing this for over a quarter century. I mean, you say you're still doing a lot of the same stuff you started out doing. What has changed since you began?
Boy, that's a good one. I could talk about that for hours, but one thing that I've really noticed that's changed is the hunter themselves. And I shouldn't say that in a negative way, but I still like the old time hunters. We get a lot of hunters that come in and are focused on getting the species that they're after. I wish we could still do 30-day hunts in the Yukon, and some outfitters are still finding clients to do that, because that's how those hunts used to be in the Yukon. You would come up and spend a month, and you would venture off and just hunt every day for a month. Now my sheep hunts are 14 days, and a lot of guys say, well, do we have to hunt the full 14 days? And I guess that's just society in a whole. Everybody's gotten in more of a hurry with everything we do, right?
Instantaneous.
Yeah. I still really enjoy getting the hunter that's there. When somebody comes up and books and says, well, what happens if I harvest my animal the first couple days? Do I have to go home? And I say, no. I stay and fish, hunt other species. You've got more tags. If you don't want to hunt another, if you can't afford or you don't want to pay the money for another species, your fishing license is included and we can fish most anywhere. Enjoy where you are. Come out at night and look at the northern lights and, go take pictures and the guys that say, oh, great, okay, that's what I want to do. I love getting those guys in camp. And I understand what the other guys are doing too. And I don't hold a grudge against them, but I really encourage everybody when they come, whether it's Alberta or whether it's the Yukon, enjoy the whole experience. I mean, there's a lot more there to do than just go harvest your animal. That's one big thing that's changed. And a lot of things have changed for the good. I mean, all my guides now, we have daily communication. Things like inReaches and satellite phones.
Yeah.
We didn't have that when I started. I mean, you went out and did your job and come home at the end of your job, whether it was the end of the day or, in the Yukon, it might be the end of 2 or 3 weeks,
And you had to sit there and wonder what was going on the whole
You
time.
often wondered, and I've got caught up in that, because if I don't hear from a guide, I wonder what's going on. I live off of that stuff now too, because I don't get to guide much anymore. When we're in the Yukon and the heat of the moose rut, I've got a dozen different camps out, and some of those are 2 hunter, 2 guide camps. So I'll have 30 people on the land over our 7,000 square mile area up there, and I want to hear what's going on. I get to live those hunts because the guide will tell me, oh, we just had a 70-inch bull in at 20 yards and couldn't get a shot, but we're going to go back in the morning and hope he's still there. And I love hearing that stuff. Yeah. So it's not a bad thing. I like it. We get a lot of bow hunters. 25 years ago, we never used to have a lot of bow hunters. Alberta, the spring black bear hunts, I mean, they're an ideal thing for the bow hunter. And we've gotten a lot more bow hunters over the last 10 or 15 years. And I think I see that as a marketing thing. Television, it shows people bow hunting. It gets people interested in bow hunting. There's more bow hunting companies out there. There's opportunities now presented to bow hunters through changes in regulations and stuff. So you see a lot more of that. And both my Alberta outfit and particularly the Yukon outfit realized that, prior to us even having it, one of the owner of Macmillan River that kind of made it known 20 years ago through television and some of the original VHS that are out there, saw that happening and started catering to bow hunters. So we're really well known for our bow hunting opportunities for the Alaska Yukon moose in the Yukon. And again, it's what it is it's largely the habitat there that provides us that opportunity. Yep. We have a lot of water, and
thick density.
We have a lot of water. It gives us a lot of moose, and it also gives me a lot of opportunities for multiple camps. Every place I can land a float plane, I've got a camp. So we aren't over hunting any particular area of our concession. We really spread our hunting pressure out, so we can go in and harvest a couple of mature bulls a season out of each area and go back next year and there's more there. And then the density of the heavy timber around those water sources, gives us the chance to get close to those bull moose because they're living in that, they're used to it.
Yeah.
If you're hunting high alpine country where there's no dense timber for those moose and they're out in willows that are 2-3 feet tall all the time and you get them within 100 yards, they're going to want to see that cow moose that they think they're coming to. We get down in that heavy timber, they're used to getting within 20 yards and not seeing it. So, the area has given us the opportunity to become well known for the bow hunting. Yeah, so that's something that has changed quite a bit. Bow hunting opportunities.
Do much bow hunting for the sheep?
I've taken a couple sheep hunters for bow and we've killed sheep, but I try to discourage it because, for one thing, those sheep hunts are expensive. And I don't want to have a guy come up and not go home with a ram if they're given that opportunity. I do understand it's their choice, but I really caution guys because we don't have a great sheep hunting area for the bow hunter because it's a lot of open stuff.
Yep.
Sometimes we got a lot of you wouldn't even think it's sheep terrain. You look where our sheep live. Our sheep spend probably more time in the timber than they do in the open hillsides because that's where their cover is. That's where they're out of sight from predators. So it's hard to bow hunt sheep in timber. When our sheep are out in the open and they're there, sometimes it's hard to get within rifle range of them. You got to really watch the winds and stuff. So it's one of the more difficult sheep hunting areas for the bow hunter, I would think. That's how I present it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know one of my goals is to definitely get Alaskan Yukon moose and a fannin ram.
Yeah.
So you're definitely in the right area for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I honestly, I didn't know you did the fannins. I mean, I thought you were in the Doll straight area. So.
And the fan and stone thing. Nobody yet has been able to tell me when it becomes a stone from a fannin.
They're absolutely beautiful.
You look at the Pope and Young and the Boone and Crockett registries. If it's as a fannin, it's registerable as a stone.
Yep.
And all of the sheep in our area are registerable as stones. We have some areas that have got darker rams. So if somebody wants, I want a darker colored ram, I will hunt them in that area. I don't misrepresent anything we do. I tell them straight up what they're what to expect, and
Well, I'm excited. Maybe one day me and you can work a deal and get up there and do it myself. I would love to do a 30-day moose and sheep hunt.
That would be
Yeah.
It would be nice.
30 days.
We actually, I had 2 clients last year that booked 2 back-to-back hunts. They were up 21 days and had combo opportunities, and 21 days is a long time to be sharing. They were in horse camps, so they did a lot of tenting. Our horse camps, we've got tent spike camps, and we've got some cabins that you hunt out of. And if you spend a lot of time in a tent with the same guy for 21 days, you either get to like each other quite well, or at least learn what you don't like about each other. So it was a little different hunt, but everybody enjoyed it. It worked out really well. Our boat camp hunts are a little more, I call them comfortable hunt for moose. We return to a cabin, wooden framed cabin every night with a wood heater and wooden frame beds and a foam mattress and a little generator for some power
and a dinner table.
It's a different hunt style. So, yeah.
Good.
What's the fannin population like in y'all's area?
The which?
The fannin sheep. How dense is it?
We again. I can't give you specific numbers. I manage our area quite strictly so that we don't overharvest and so that we continue to represent high opportunity at quality rams. I'm reluctant to tell you that we got lots of rams because I don't want you thinking you're going to come up and you're guaranteed, we're just going to go out and shoot a ram. So I don't want to avoid your question.
Yeah.
But
I understand. I respect that about you. You're going to shoot people straight. And that's
right.
That.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the key to me is like age class. When you start looking at the age class you're killing, that means you're not over.
Yeah.
Over harvest.
And we're in the Yukon. Life expectancy on average of our rams is, a real old ram will be 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah.
There's been cases where there's been older ones killed. We had found a 13-year-old ram a few years ago, but that's a real rarity. We average 9 or 10 years old. We on the first few days of a hunt, if we have a hunter that's in good physical shape that can go and continue to complete the hunt, if we need to go the long term of the hunt, we'll pass on 8-year-old rams all day long, because we know there's better there, and we want the hunter to harvest a better one too.
So I got a little bit of question about the genetics of your type of rams. So do you get a lot of deep curl rams, or are they tighter
There's
curls?
a real
They
variety.
flare?
There's
They're all over the
tremendous
place.
variety depending on the area. We've got different areas where the genetics are isolated.
Okay.
So some areas you see maybe a tighter curl but a heavier mass, and some areas you see some that flare out a little bit more, but maybe they're a little bit longer, but they don't have the mass. So there's a variety. Yep.
There's a whole art to judging those
There is.
rams.
Yeah. No, there really is. And I'm fortunate. My sheep guides have been with me for many years, and they've gotten to know the areas well and where to go looking for them, and good at judging age and stuff. Yep.
Good. I'd like to know about like somebody like E3, a young man who's wanting to get into do a type of hunt. Do you ever work with work with people, do like book out 3 or 4 years out and do work a payment plan?
Absolutely.
Or do that type of thing?
Yeah, I'm not very strict on my payment plans, and I do have young hunters that that are planning ahead 4 and 5 years down the road, and maybe can't afford much of a deposit now, and if I'll sit down with a guy and work out an individual plan.
Good.
Basically I like to have a little bit of money to secure the spot, and depending how far in advance it is, that varies. I like to have 50% of the funds by January 1st of the hunt year. And I do that because that's when my show season starts. I need to know at the beginning of that show season if I've got hunts left for 2020. So if I have 50% of the client's money in hand, I know they've made a serious commitment.
Yes.
And they aren't likely to back out.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But other than that, I'm very flexible with guys.
Well, it's just good to know, because there's a lot of people, that allows people to say, I got opportunity now. Because a lot of people don't realize that, there are outfitters who do work out 3 or 4 years, to help that situation.
Yeah. Well, and I do it partly because it is a lot of money. Any of these hunts are expensive hunts, and it's because it's very expensive to operate in the area that we operate in there. Everything we do is fly-in. All the wood that gone in to build our cabins has been flown in there on an airplane.
Wow.
Every gallon of gas that we run through the generator or the boat has been flown in by an airplane. Everything you eat up there has been flown in by an airplane, and that comes at a high cost, that remoteness. But that remoteness also presents you that quality hunt.
So, about getting your horses, so what kind of trail ride do they get to get those horses into those areas? So what are your wranglers doing?
Our south area, like when our hunters come in, they fly right into the base camp, which is in the middle of the hunting area. But to get our horses into there in the first place, it's a 3-day trail ride.
3 days?
And it's 3 hard days.
Yeah.
The guys travel light. I fly everything into camp after they're there.
Gotcha.
So they travel with the clothes on their back, their rain gear, a few bags of dehydrated food.
And they ride for 3 days.
And they ride. Yeah, we do take a break on day 2 to rest the horses a little bit, because it's the first trip for the horses. We've done some preconditioning at home prior to going there, but it's the hardest they've worked since they come out of there again too.
Yeah.
But it is a 3-day ride. That's into our south area. Our north area is an additional 7 to 8 days from that point. So it's a 10 to 12 day ride into the north area. But we don't go into that north area every year. And I did something really neat about 5 years ago. There's an old mine site up in the north area where they flew some larger planes into when the mine was operational. And we actually went in, cleared out the airstrip, and flew trying to remember what the name of that plane was. It'll come to me later. Anyway, a small plane, similar to a little Hercules plane.
Yep.
And we flew. I built chutes, aluminum chutes that we put in that plane, and we flew 3 horses at a time into that camp. And when we unloaded the horses, it was about a 6-hour ride up to where the camp was.
That was nice.
That got a lot of attention. The guide and the wranglers loved it.
I bet.
I mean, and I think, I've got a couple mules on each of my crews, and I think those mules knew what was going on too. They loved it. All the horses. We never had a lick of trouble, We did a little pre-training. We had to back horses up chutes, and we blindfolded horses because we were worried they may not want to walk into that plane. But it went smooth. We just walked them up there like loading them into a stock trailer and flew them. The first trip, the pilot didn't know what to think. Like, he was worried, what's going to happen. We did 3 trips, flew 9 horses in. The end of the season, we flew 9 horses out. And instead of a 10 to 12 day, endurance test getting everybody out of there, everybody was out in 6 to 8 hours. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is real awesome.
It was pretty neat.
It
was a great experience.
That would have been some great content to document.
Yeah. Well, and we kept it pretty quiet because we didn't know how it was going to go.
Yeah.
It went so well. I wished I would have had somebody there that could have done a little bit of a story on it.
Yeah,
because it would have been something to keep. It would have been a real keepsake. Yeah. And I'll probably do it again one year.
Just think about those miners that went in there and created that airstrip.
Oh.
Can you imagine the toughness?
Well, even before that, there was some of the early explorers in some of that North Country, and that is one of the areas. There's a couple books written by, I can't remember what his title was, but his last name was Armstrong. And he was the initial guy, or not one of the initials, but there's a mountain up there named after him. He was instrumental in settling that country. He came over in the late 1800s from England during the gold rush in that Dawson City area of the Yukon. And then he decided to go off on his own, and he actually went into that northern area of ours and had a little claim set up there and initiated mining up there in the early 1900s. He lived up there in the early 1900s through the winter. I mean, talk about people tough in those days.
That's beyond tough. I mean, that's just...
Yeah, it's really neat. And it's a good read, reading some of those old stories, some of the old hunting stories that are up in that area.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Real
it's
cool.
really neat. Yeah.
It's no telling the stories. No telling the stories that those old timers could tell you.
No. Some really good reads there. Some of the original hunting that was done up in that area.
Oh, some of the old photographs you see coming out there, just amazing.
Yep.
They do those 60-day hunts or whatever.
Well, and you know what I like about the Yukon, I look so forward to going up there every year, is that remoteness again. I read some of these books written by Armstrong and Sellis, and you go up there and you think, I'm standing on the same ground as that guy was, 100 years or more ago. And other than, just natural evolution, it hasn't changed. I'm looking at the same mountain that he was looking at, and there's no other development here since then.
The same rocks that he stepped on.
The same rocks that he stepped on, yeah. And this, the same genetics of moose that they hunted for survival, we're up there now hunting again. So, yeah.
Just amazing.
Yep.
Just amazing.
It is.
Well, Don, I sure appreciate you joining us and give us a little insight about you and your and the businesses you operate. It's been can you tell us your website and stuff so they can find you?
Sure. Well, South Peace Outfitters. If you go SPO Hunts HUNTS.com.
Okay.
Macmillan River Adventures is MRAHunts.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can also find them on our Hunt360 platform as well, and we'll direct you right to him. So, Don, appreciate your opportunities to sit with us and,
Sure.
and the knowledge you just taught us. And,
Thanks, guys.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah. Thanks,
Great.
sir.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good meeting you.